Alright, guys. I'm going to go over something that I feel very strongly about. It's an extremely important issue that many people just overlook, probably because it don't directly affect them and people are extremely selfish pieces of shit. Although I would like to think that not everyone is selfish pieces of shit. And there's at least some who just don't know and they can be fucking brought to the side of decency and justice if you just use logic. So this is primarily about income inequality. It's a very big deal, especially in the United States. If you look at graphs that show the disparity between the top and bottom, or what's the word? I suck. Like, when I can't think of a word, it just fucks me up. Like, even if I can think of something synonymous, I have to think of that exact fucking thing. Social mobility, or like mobility in terms of like income. And that is how difficult it is to rise from the bottom in a particular country. And we are one of the worst in the world. We suck. Like, there's so many places where you can just start from the ground and it's actually a meritocracy. It's all about how well you work, how much time you put in, whether or not you actually have the drive, and then you succeed. Now, we're told that about the United States, but that is absolute horseshit based on any actual statistics. It's just complete lies. More often than not, it's like fucking nepotism. But anyhow, since 1970, both low and middle income wealth has dropped steadily and continues to do so, while the wealth gap at the top continues to expand. In 1970, 62% of Americans were middle income earners, 29% were upper income, and 10% were low income. In 2018, middle income has fallen massively down to 43%, low income households has dropped to 9%, and the higher incomes has went up to 48%. There's no sign that this trend is slowing, and in fact, under Trump, experts predict it's going to grow way worse due to his specific policies. So this is something that many people have brought up numerous times, and funny enough, the right have been doing a lot of it. They've been claiming that the middle class is all but disappearing in the United States, and it's absolutely true. The reason why it's funny and ironic, though, is because they are the ones that are responsible for that happening. They've done this psyop where they've created a problem, and then they point a finger in some random direction to like to give you like a witch hunt so that you don't look right in front of your fucking eyes of why it's happening. Anyhow, there's an argument I've had recently with a family member. I won't go into any details because that wouldn't be right. But so there's a couple of things that I always, it's not just this one person, I always get this from people, and it's like, it's sad to me. It shows like a lack of critical thinking. It's just, it, anyway, it's always been that way. Even worse than this is like when they make it, they almost want to like have a victimhood fight. And they'll go like, it was even worse back in 1980 or the 80s. Like, even worse than it is now. And they'll be like, I know this because I lived it. I know. Like, you go, they'll tell me that, like, you go online and you, like, look up stuff and, like, you think it's true. I lived it. Now, it's sad because you can't reach these people. They don't understand what an anecdote is and why you're biased by your own experience. So, especially here in the South, or if you lived in like a poverty-stricken area, then you're going to look at that area, that tiny little slice of the entire fucking country, and you're going to go, oh, that's what it was like. It's why anecdotes aren't acceptable in any sort of scientific endeavor. It's why data matters. Okay. So the fact is, by the actual data, is it was way better in the 80s than it is today as far as income inequality goes in terms of the level of prosperity of the middle class and the lower class in comparison to the upper class. That's a fact. That's not my opinion. It's closed. It's done. We have the numbers. So I think there's several like psychological reasons for this. Part of it is jealousy and selfishness. It reminds me of how Republicans in general, or the right, see the student debt crisis. They're like, no, fuck that, you're screwed, whatever, because they see it like it's not fair. Like, we had to pay student loans and stuff. What they don't understand is it's not the same. Things aren't fair, or at least as fair as they were. It's getting worse. Like, at this point, universities are a scam. It's designed that way. And a big part of it, in my opinion, is this is how the wealthy control things. You can ensure that wealth stays at the tiny little majority at the top if you have a way to control education, especially. How do you do that? You make it to where you need a whole lot of money to get education, higher education. And that's what we have today. Like, it's not even really a conspiracy. It's like, it's right in front of you. Anyhow, it's just sad to me. Like, to me, you're supposed to want the next generation to have it better than you did. Not look at them and envy, like, it's not fair, it's fucked up. And by the way, it's the other way around. In many ways, boomers destroyed everything for everyone else. Their greed. And don't even get me started on Reagan and how he since the 80s especially, pretty much all of the 80s was Reagan's era. And he completely fucked over everyone except for the wealthy. And found a way to come out a hero in the end, where the writer like, yeah, he was the greatest. Everyone was doing so well under him. Even though the actual data shows that is not true. That is bullshit. He pandered to you and sold you a bullshit scheme with a smile and a fucking charismatic tone because he was a fucking actor and you fell for it like goddamn idiots. Anyhow. There's a common straw man tactic of, we can't have everyone making the same. No one says that, and no one wants that. Not even communists want that. So it's a straw man because you're trying to defeat the whole legitimate premise by making it an extreme thing that we're not even making. So the issue is not we want everyone making the same. Obviously, merit should play a role, and if you have a higher skill trade, you should make more than people that don't. If you work harder, you should make more than people that don't. Obviously. The issue is the disparity. The sheer extreme difference from bottom to top. And a lot of people make this case, this is like, as I went into earlier, it's how it's always been. No, it's not. It's not the same. It's getting worse by far. And people that just don't, they keep their head in their ass and just fucking go through day-to-day life like a fucking zombie and don't learn anything. And they're just uninformed. So here's the actual fucking statistics. In 1965, the worker to CEO ratio was 21 to 1. Now, personally, I think that is already way too much. Should be closer to 5 to 1 or so. You wouldn't even lose incentive because that's a lot more. 5 times what the person on the bottom makes. You don't have to have like fucking mansions and shit. That's retarded. Shouldn't be legal. Today, in contrast, we're looking at about 300 to 1. 21 to 1 in 1965 to 300 to 1 now. If you don't think that's a problem, you have a fucking brain issue. CEOs making 300 times that of the people who actually do the work, who make the profit. These CEOs are usually Nepo babies, incredibly out of touch with on-the-ground actual workplace conditions and management, entitled and incredibly stupid, despite this belief that you have to be smart to be a CEO. Completely fucking backward. So then, after COVID, we had this thing that all the mainstream media covered as quiet quitting. And they talked about how it was going to destroy the economy and all this, and it did affect the economy, but it's a fucking positive thing. I'll go a little bit further into that. Well, I guess I'll go into it now. So, Republicans and the right in general have slowly been brainwashed. They've taken their base and like fucking stuck little quick phrases in their head because they're so stupid that they can't use critical thinking, and they've psyoped this fucking thing, and it's worked. They've made them think that working itself is morally positive. That just like it doesn't matter, like you're to look at it accurately is it's transactional. So as a worker, you have just as equal rights, or you're supposed to have just as equal rights as your employer. So you can say, well, these are the conditions I want, blah, 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 and you'll pay me in return. It's a mutual transaction. So things don't work that way here. We talk shit about like fucking like Chinese like slave labor, but we're actually a lot closer to it than we want to let on. Like almost all of the power is in the hands of the fucking like the corporations, and it's the opposite of how things should be. So they also do this thing where they point the finger and like get people to like not understand where the problem is by telling them that like the poor people are lazy. Although the statistics don't bear that out at all. It's a lie. They make it seem like there's a direct correlation to hard work and financial success, when the reality is absolutely the opposite. The hardest workers in the country make the least, while greedy sociopaths steal all their earnings. Yes, it's stealing. So we need welfare. Now this is where it's hard to get through to people on the right, because they're conditioned in this fucking echo chamber of lies and bullshit. So for just a second, try to get rid of your fucking like automatic fucking intuitive like automatic emotional thoughts about the concept of welfare, and think about the root cause. Think about everything in a chain and look at how things are and why they are. Okay? We need welfare. Why does it exist? Why is it there in the first place? So this is what I mean. So the rich want you to, the middle class anyway, to point to the poor and go, that's why you're poor. And you fucking idiots fall for it. So where was I going there? I'm getting a little... Yeah. So the reason why you need welfare in the first place is because corporations don't pay people enough to survive. Good examples of this, and ones that I use frequently, are Walmart and Amazon. Walmart and Amazon, we're talking about Jeff Bezos and the Walton family. Like, incredibly wealthy. Like, if you believe that their profit margin is like tiny and like they couldn't survive if they paid people a living wage, you are fucking brainwashed. You're retarded. You're an idiot. So like you're falling into the pandering, the shit that they fucking spew to you so that you'll keep yourself down, and you vote for this shit because you're stupid. So look, in these places, in Walmart and Amazon's workplaces, in their break rooms, you will see direct advertisements for how to get on welfare. It's because that is how it's fucking designed to be. They want you to be subsidized by the government so that they don't have to pay you what they should fairly. So that they can fucking steal your earnings and have the government that you're still not making what you should. But they're at least making it to where you don't fucking starve to death. Because otherwise it would be a massive fucking PR issue and shit on the government side. So the reason why they have to do that in the first place is because politicians are paid off by these same fucking piece of shit lobbyists that work for the damn corporations, and they let this shit happen. The government is quite literally the reason why we're in this mess. They're not doing their job in protecting the American workforce. So it should be seen as a positive thing for basically the entire workforce that is underpaid to be subsidized by the government until such time as their needs are actually addressed. Like, this is not profound shit. It's fucking common sense. It's so simple. So we have some common arguments from retarded people. I'll go into them in a moment, but I keep letting my fucking pipe go out, and this is very important. I want to clean this thing soon. Anyhow, so common arguments from retards. Fast food is for kids. A vast majority of fast food workers are actually adults. Thank you, come again. Next. Aside from that, being underage doesn't give you a moral foundation to take advantage of them. You don't agree with enforced child labor, do you? Same fucking thing, dude. Like, I love how we come up with these bullshit, weird fucking mental gymnastics to excuse fucking evil. And, like, you guys just go along with it. It's because you don't give a fuck. You only care about yourself. And in some weird way, the people that are poor are fucking taken up for the fucking wealthy that are fucking them over. Like, you can't make this shit up. Ah, but fast food isn't a skill trade and they're lazy. Not even close to true. Most people who say this would admit they'd never be caught dead doing that kind of work if they actually know anything about it. They do more work than like 75% of the population, but aren't fairly compensated for it. Then go work somewhere else. Every company does this same shit. It's how capitalism works. If several industries screw their workers and another doesn't, they end up failing because they can't match their profit returns. There's not much of an option. It has to be addressed, and people need to stop making fallacious arguments from stupidity. And this is important. And it's something that, especially in this last election, everyone should be at least coming close to waking up to. Democrats will not help you get there. Democrats, and when I say Democrats, I'm not talking about individual people. I'm talking about the establishment. I'm talking about politicians. I'm talking about the Joe Bidens and the Hillary Clintons of the world. They do not give a fuck about you. They tell you what you want to hear. They give you tiny little, like, almost nothing shit just to keep you content, and you go, oh, well, it could be worse. They do the lesser of two evil thing on purpose, and they go, well, we can't really do much for... They won't tell you this, but, like, they don't do much for you, but they're like, well, it could be worse. You could have fucking Donald Trump. It's like good cop, bad cop, but both of them are on the same fucking page, and they do not give a shit about you, and they do not give a shit about the working class. They're paid for by the exact same people. The Republicans are just a little bit more direct about it. They'll tell you, oh, I'm all about, like Trump, he'll just be like, I'm all about fucking wealthy people. It's great. It's awesome. I'm just going to give them everything they want. He'll just be direct about it. And Republicans generally do this. Don't get me wrong, they lie about many things. They lie more than Democrats do, in fact. But they don't lie about this specific thing. Now, Democrats, on the other hand, act like they're all about the fucking working class, and they'll never take fucking payouts from fucking lobbyists and shit, even though they all do, every single fucking one of them. To my knowledge, I don't know if Bernie Sanders has, and he's one of the few that I think are legit, but, and maybe AOC. I don't know. I haven't done a whole lot of digging into that. I'll have to figure it out. But the point is, Democrats as an establishment are fucking liars. And it should be obvious at this point, over and over and over, same shit, over and over. Obama, fucking Biden, it's the same shit. They do not give a fuck about you. They're going to tell you what you want to hear, and they're going to go, well, I tried to push things through, but the Republicans blocked me every time, when they knew, before they even tried, that it wouldn't pass. They didn't want it to pass. They didn't even put much effort into making these things pass. And that is where we all have to come together and fucking, we got to quit doing this thing like members of my family are like, yeah, you got to just quit worrying about this stuff. And, it is what it is. You're not going to change anything. It was the same thing back in my day, and it's going to be the same thing when we're gone. Blah, 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 blah. See, this is why the shit is as bad as it is. Because people shrug their shoulders and go, it is what it is. I hate that fucking saying. Throughout we're not magically like some fucking special place. Throughout history, massive fucking oligarchic bullshit fucking societies have been toppled by people coming together and saying enough is fucking enough. Over and over, you have examples. One of the best examples is the fucking revolution in France. So the difference between the French Revolution and now, and honestly, what makes the French Revolution so special compared to almost the rest of the world, except for maybe like Vietnam and Cuba, they did some decent work on this, but specifically what I'm talking about is the bourgeoisie, the people that with the wealth, with the education, in that special, they had power, especially under the system as it originally was. They were fighting for the workers, for the proletariat. They were fighting for them because they were decent, moral people. They weren't as greedy as it seems to be everyone now. So it's going to be more of a fucking struggle because we don't have many, like, in my opinion, most celebrities are not even legit. They're doing this same bullshit game. Because if they were legit, like, say, like the who am I thinking of? The Taylor Swifts of the world. All about the left and all about, like, left politics and the everybody and fairness and equality and all that. If they were legitimate, they wouldn't even have what they do. Because they would give a shit enough to realize that the system's fucked and it shouldn't be this way. Like Taylor Swift, I'm not saying that she hasn't worked for what she has, but I am going to say she has not worked like a million times harder than every other fucking American. That's not even close to true. Not even anywhere near it. In fact, it's like, it's to a point, at least now, where she has to do almost nothing and she's raking in fucking millions or billions. Like, it's backward. It's fucked. The system's broke. That goes back into the same thing with, like, fucking, like, pro sports athletes. Like, it's a big part of the problem. Again, already addressed. I'm not saying that everyone should make the same. But the extent, the sheer disparity from the top to the bottom is absolutely fucking broken. Especially when there's people in the fucking streets dying because they don't have food. And yes, that's happening. I don't care about your right-wing bullshit that you read and watch that it's all like fucking exaggerated, whatever. No, it's true. It happens all the fucking time. In fact, every day when I go to work, I pass by people in the middle of the fucking road, and they're not lazy people. They're not fucking drug addicts. Like, this is all bullshit. It's designed. It's shit that got stuck in your fucking head and your fucking echo chamber. And now you look at yourself and like you're doing okay. Let's say you're doing okay. You look at that just like the wealthy do and you go, that's because I worked harder. It's because I put more effort in. That's not fucking true. That we do not have a meritocracy. That's bullshit. People have a tendency psychologically to discount luck when it comes to themselves. And what do I mean by luck? I don't believe in luck as far as like the magical shit. I mean things that you can't account for in your direct influence, sphere of influence. Like you didn't directly cause it to happen. Like where you happen to be born. You happen to be born in the United States of America. That's not something that you chose. What you happen to have a mother and father that was like in the uh, middle class or something. You didn't choose that. It's just pure fucking luck. You were born into that. So these are many things that people like magically they let their brain shift it out and like sift through it like it don't exist. It's so that they don't feel like pieces of shit. But the truth is, if you abide by and you're cool with the system as it is, and you understand, you're not just ignorant. You understand the things that are being done and how we really don't even have a democracy. It's a fucking oligarchy. And you're okay with it. You are a piece of shit and you're part of the problem. Thank you for your time.